You know that feeling, right? When you're stuck in a loop, fixing the exact same problem over and over and over again? It's so frustrating. But what if I told you there's a simple toolbox that can help you break that cycle for good? Today, we're going to crack open the 7 basic quality tools, a surprisingly simple kit for solving problems with data. At the end of the day, every team, every organization faces a choice, a really fundamental one. Do we make our decisions based on hunches, on what we think is going on, or do we base them on what the data proves is happening? That's really the core of what we're tackling today, making that leap from opinions to evidence. I mean, it's the question that keeps us up at night, isn't it? Why do things keep going wrong? The same errors pop up, you miss another deadline, customers aren't happy, and nobody has a clear answer. It really feels like you're just fumbling around in the dark.
Well, here's the good news. There is a way to flip the switch and turn on the lights. Get this. Quality management experts have found that a whopping 95% of these nagging problems can be solved with just 7 basic tools. That is a ton of control, and it's right there for the taking.
Okay, so let's crack open this toolbox, shall we? And don't worry, you can forget about needing a PhD in statistics for this. These tools are simple, they're visual, and they're designed for literally everyone on the front lines. Doesn't matter if you're in manufacturing, healthcare, or even software.
And the person we have to thank for this is Kaoru Ishikawa, who was a real pioneer in Japan's post-war quality revolution. See, his whole vision was about empowering the people who were actually doing the work. The goal was to build a culture that's driven by data, not guesswork, to finally break that frustrating cycle.
All right, so what are these magical tools? Honestly, the best way to think about them is like 7 different lenses. Each one gives you a totally unique way to look at your process and see what's really going on. Let's take a peek through each one. First up, we've got the flow chart. And this one is just common sense, right? You can't fix a process if you don't actually understand it. A flow chart is basically a map. It visually lays out every single step, every decision, every activity, from the very beginning to the very end. And the minute you map a process out like this, bam, problems just start to jump off the page. You can suddenly see the bottlenecks, the weird loops that go nowhere, the steps that are totally redundant. It's the absolute first step to getting a clear picture. Okay, so once you see the process, you need some cold, hard data. And that's where our second tool, the check sheet, comes into play. It is, without a doubt, the simplest way to start gathering real information. Seriously, it's nothing fancy. We're talking categories and tally marks. But look at the change. All of a sudden, you have actual numbers. You go from saying, ugh, we get a lot of complaints to, okay, we had exactly 17 late deliveries last week. That is a huge shift from opinion to fact. So now you've got this raw data. What's next? You have to prioritize. And that brings us to the Pareto chart. This tool is all about focus. It's built on that famous 80-20 rule, the idea that roughly 80% of your problems are caused by just 20% of the causes. This chart helps you find that vital few, so you know exactly where to put your energy. You see how it works? The bars are lined up from the biggest problem down to the smallest. It makes the main culprit completely obvious. So instead of trying to fix everything all at once and getting nowhere, you can focus all your energy on that one tall bar and make a real impact. Okay, so you've pinpointed your number one problem. Now for the big question, why is it happening? To answer that, we pull out the cause and effect diagram. You might know it as a Fishbone diagram or an Ishikawa diagram. It's a fantastic, structured way to brainstorm all the potential root causes of an issue with your team. What's great is that it organizes everyone's thinking into these key categories. Are the problems coming from the people involved, the man, or the process itself, the method? Maybe it's the supplies you're using, material, or the machine. This systematic approach makes sure you don't overlook anything important. Tool number 5, the histogram, is all about seeing the variation in your process. See, while a Pareto chart helps you count types of problems, a histogram shows you the spread of your data. It takes continuous measurements, like time or weight or length, and shows you the pattern. Is your process tight and consistent, or is it all over the map? The shape of the histogram tells you the story. Now, what if you have a hunch? You suspect that maybe one thing is causing another. For instance, does the humidity in the factory seem to affect the number of product defects? That's when you use a scatter diagram. You just plot the two things on a graph, and you can see with your own eyes if there's a relationship. It's a great way to prove or disprove your theory.
And finally, after you've made a fix, you need to make sure it actually worked and that things stay fixed. That's the job of our last tool, the control chart. It's all about monitoring your process over time. It shows you what's normal variation, and it screams at you when something falls outside those limits. That's your signal that something unusual, a special cause, has happened, and you need to investigate.
Okay, so we've seen the individual tools, but the real magic happens when you start using them together. They're not meant to live on their own. They're designed to work in a logical sequence that helps your whole team solve problems with data. And here's what that workflow usually looks like. You start by mapping out the process with a flowchart, then you use a Pareto chart to pick the biggest problem to focus on. You get to the bottom of it with a fishbone diagram, and once you've made a change, you monitor it with a control chart. See that? It's a clear path from total confusion to being in control.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, these 7 tools are way more than just a bunch of charts and graphs. They really represent a whole new way of thinking, a fundamental shift in how you approach challenges. Because at its heart, this is a philosophy. It's a philosophy of continuous improvement, of systematic problem solving, and most importantly, a deep respect for data. It's about moving from a world of guessing to a world of knowing, all built on that solid foundation of evidence.
So there you have it. You've got the toolbox, you've got the guide. The only question left is, what problem are you going to solve first? With these tools in your hand, what's that one recurring frustration, that nagging issue, that broken process that you are going to tackle and fix for good?